The Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and your local cable provider presents Cable Reports. Join us now as Cable Reports brings you up to date on current issues facing the Commonwealth through discussions with your local legislators and other policymakers from across Virginia.
Welcome from the General Assembly and the City of Richmond. I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports and Cox Communications. We are fortunate this morning to have two new members from the Virginia Beach area who are in their first term in the House of Delegates. Delegate Bill DeSteph. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, Woody.
Scott Taylor, good to see you, sir.
Good to be here. Thanks for having us.
First of all, you both are veterans. We want to thank you for your service. We really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
And we are looking forward to your service here. I know you both went through some orientation. Why don't you tell us about it? I'll start with you, Bill.
It was pretty interesting. We came up. We got introduced primarily to the IT systems and the process and what we would be faced with the first couple of days. And it's been pretty interesting. Reading a lot of bills, having a lot of fun.
How has it been for you?
It's been great. Let me touch on the orientation first. I think that kudos to Legislative Services, because I think that they were extremely helpful. I mean, they've bent over backwards, and they've probably been asked the same question about 100 times, but they act like they heard it for the first time, and they were very helpful. And even with the members coming in here, whether Republican or Democrat, everyone has lent their hand out there to offer any assistance, and I'm very thankful for that.
Great. Now, as I mentioned earlier, both of you are members of the Armed Services, or former members of the Armed Services. Tell us a little bit about your background and experience in that regard.
Sure. Well, at the ripe old age of 18, I left my small town on the Eastern Shore of Maryland and joined the Navy to become a SEAL. And fortunately, I didn't get hurt, and then I was able to serve with some of the best people I'll ever serve with. And I certainly draw from that experience, and I spent collectively a couple of years in South Central America and then on to Iraq. And after getting out, I did a little stuff in Yemen as well. So just stand upon the shoulders of those folks that I had the honor to serve with.
Great. And your experience was in the Navy as well?
Same thing, Woody. I went in at 17 and with active and reserve, spent right over 20 years, 6 months to be exact. Enlisted and officer, and I retired as an intel officer working with the SEAL teams, and probably the best job of my life.
Now, veterans issues are big to both of you, I assume. What kinds of things are you working on?
Well, right now we're looking at increasing access to the job market for veterans through Tidewater Community College, through our local universities, really giving the veterans a hand up to really integrate them into society and the programs, and really productive members of society. And Scott,
I believe you're a member of a memorial commission?
Yes, I was appointed several years ago by Governor Bob McDonnell to the Virginia War Memorial Board of Trustees. However, because now that I'm elected, I have to resign from that position because it was a civilian one, but I look forward to being able to hopefully serve there again as a legislator as well.
Now, what about the city of Virginia Beach? A lot of people don't know it's the largest city in the Commonwealth. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Virginia Beach is a wonderful city, and you're right. Geographically speaking, it's enormous. Right. And most people, I think, that haven't had experience from Virginia Beach, they may think just the ocean front or something. But it's very diverse. It's a very geographically large. We have the best of. We have the beautiful beaches there. We have great people there. We have the military there. It's a wonderful place to live and raise a family.
And so, what committee assignments do you have?
I was appointed to the Transportation Committee as well as the County, Cities, and Towns.
Great. And your committee assignments?
I'm on Finance, Woody, County, Cities, and Towns, and
that's all right.
Technology one.
All right.
Third
great,
one.
Great. Science and Technology.
Science and Technology.
I think it is. And you were, before you came here, an elected member of the City Council, were you not?
Yes, sir. For 8 years, City of Virginia Beach, 435,000 people. And it was, again, great job, great city. And very diverse population, very diverse group of individuals down there. And we basically have 1.6, 1.7 million visitors a year. So it's a pretty good-sized city with a lot of great things to do.
So what kinds of issues did you struggle at the local level that will help you here?
A lot of zoning issues, a lot with city charter, financial issues, and then the gaps. So an example would be shortfalls on school funding every year, and then how to make up the gap with that, unfunded mandates, And now on the other side, I'm at the state level,
Right.
so I have the opportunity to look into those and help fix those.
Right. And Delegate, tell our viewers why those military installations in Virginia Beach and the surrounding area are so important to the Commonwealth.
Well, first, let me say that they're important to the country, of course, because
Sure.
of for our national security, and Virginia disproportionately has such a huge presence there, the largest naval contingent in the world. That being said, they're so huge to the Hampton Roads area because it's roughly 45% of the economy comes from there. It has to do directly or indirectly with the military, so it's very important for us, economically speaking, and then national security-wise, of course.
Great. And Oceana is there, is it not?
Oceana is there. It's huge. We really have workups with the flights going onto the ships, off of the ships. We have the outlying landing field, Fentress Airfield, so pretty active around that area. And really, as Scott said, you know, our local GDP relies on the military and military-related activities. There's a lot of commands that are expanding, some that are contracting, but the expanding commands are anything dealing with cyber warfare. Special operations is still increasing, but it's really a great area.
Is there an issue about encroachment regarding the Fentress area?
Well, in the city of Chesapeake, there is a little bit of an issue. What we've done is follow the model that Virginia Beach has, which is a nationally recognized model of how to stop encroachment onto military bases. And this year, where in the past years we've had $7.5 million used to stop and buy back from encroachment, this year we're sharing that money with the city of Chesapeake. So the city of Chesapeake will get $2.5 million. The city of Virginia Beach will have $5 million, and the total of $7.5 million will be used to stop or slow encroachment issues.
Now, one of the new members of the governor's cabinet is Admiral Harvey, I believe. Tell us a little bit about Admiral Harvey and how he's going to especially assist you guys.
Well, I had the pleasure of meeting him for the first time yesterday. We had a reception for the Virginia National Guard. He's a great man. He's got a great reputation. He obviously understands naval issues in and out, and I think that he'll be a great asset for Hampton Roads in understanding the difficulties and the challenges that we have there to make sure that we continue to thrive and that we continue to do what we need to do to stop encroachment and things such of that nature.
To what extent has the Base Realignment Commission impacted Virginia Beach?
Well, it really opened our eyes when we had the threat of closing Oceana. We did have strong guys like Admiral Harvey there in leadership that understood the importance of the base, also really the infrastructure issues that were important to the military as well as Hampton Roads. And Admiral Harvey's been a stand-up guy who has really pushed forward and helped everyone look at it from a 60,000-foot view as well.
And to what extent is the diversification of the economy in the Commonwealth and also Virginia Beach important? I believe Governor McAuliffe talked about diversifying the economy in the Commonwealth.
Well, there's a lot of things we're doing to diversify the economy. One of them is our ports. Our ports are continually growing. We're dredging from 50 feet down to 55 feet. That's in the 20-year plan, and that'll enable us to take just about any ship that's out there, super tankers. With the opening of the Panama Canal, and I mean, there's just a lot of things right now that are really lining up where Virginia Beach will have or Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads area will have one of the easiest accessible ports out there. From an infrastructure standpoint, we're ready to grow, we're standing by, and we are continually growing.
So I take it that the modernization of the Panama Canal is going to allow much larger container ships to come through there and once there through the Port of Virginia.
That's correct. I'm going to foot stomp on stuff that Bill said, and I think that diversification of the economy is on everybody's agenda for growing for economy and jobs. Because our port is deep, we have an advantage over every port on the East Coast for the moment. Of course, everybody's struggling, and they're going to try to catch up to get there. And to help to foot stomp even further on that port, I think that Virginia is very well positioned to export our services and our products to the world. In addition, with the port currently right now, it's sort of a pass-through entity. So if the ships come in with goods, they come to this port and then they're shipped out. If we can incentivize and create another layer of activity, if you will. So if somebody comes and brings their products through the port and then we have either fulfillment centers or advanced manufacturing along that, it adds another layer of economic activity and then shipped out. So that'll create jobs and help to diversify our economy. And I know we're going to be talking about legislation, but energy is another way to diversify our economy, and I look forward to talking about that.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about
Sure.
that. I know you've got a couple of bills you wanted to identify for our viewers.
Correct. So natural gas, and I know that the audience out there is well aware of the boom that we've had in this country for natural gas. So my goal is to help Virginia lead the way in using that energy source, that cheap energy source, to build this economy, much like we did oil in the last century. Natural gas is a regional or a local market as opposed to oil, which is a world market. So if something happens in Iran tomorrow, oil prices skyrocket, natural gases do not. The prices do not, because it's on the local and regional market. So I have several bills in to help get that industry off the ground, to incentivize conversions for public fleet vehicles, to incentivize private semi-truck vehicles, which are the largest user of foreign oil, workforce development, creating certifications for natural gas mechanics and technicians here in Virginia, so that can create jobs and bring people from other states to get certified here. And then, of course, incentives for public stations to help with that natural gas infrastructure. So really setting conditions for that industry to thrive and have Virginia lead the way.
Economic development and the encouragement of small business entrepreneurship is very important to you, I take it, as well.
It's huge, Woody. And what we're trying to do is foster more small businesses. And if you look at it from an economic development standpoint, small business, it's pretty easy for a small business to double every year or two, where a large business, it's almost impossible. So fostering an environment where our small businesses and our overall businesses and families can thrive are kind of the things we're looking at doing up here with crafting legislation to do that. A lot of that involves reducing the bureaucratic red tape that a lot of businesses have to go through, doing things like in Virginia Beach, we eliminated the machinery and tools tax. As soon as we did that, Steel Incorporated, instead of expanding in China, they expanded in Virginia Beach, creating more jobs and really helping grow the economy. So the more things we can do like that, the easier we can make it for businesses to expand and thrive, the better we can make it for our families as well.
What about specific initiatives to assist returning veterans and encouraging them to get involved in small business development?
Well, at the state level, they have the V3 program, and in the city of Virginia Beach, through our economic development department, we actually have CDs and DVDs, and we help our veterans and other small business owners stand up a company and kind of walk them through the process. Hampton Roads has a couple of technology incubators. There's a new one standing up. We're trying to stand it up in Virginia Beach and expand it. And again, it offers the individual expertise to standing up and growing a company.
And of course, Virginia continues to enjoy a reputation as being business-friendly. Virginia has had a AAA bond rating since the 1930s, I believe. How do we continue that?
Well, we continue that by prioritizing our spending, making sure that we do things like Bill was talking about to incentivize folks to start up here, taking care of veterans, doing things like looking at potentially taking away the taxes on their retirement, not to all of them right now. That'd be a big hole in the budget, but maybe potentially phasing it in and use that as an economic tool to keep retiring veterans here in Virginia. So again, we prioritize spending, which Virginia has done a wonderful job of doing, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody here in the House to continue that and continue our AAA bond rating and our #1 position for business friendly.
Talk to us a little bit more about the transportation needs in your district. As you know, the legislature was successful last year in getting a transportation bill through that's going to provide a lot of statewide funding. What do you see as some of the needs of your constituents?
Well, truly getting people in and out of Virginia Beach. We are at the end of a cul-de-sac. If you look at I-264, we have a $2.2 billion backlog to bring I-264 up to today's standards. Roughly 95+% of our citizens use I-264. It's kind of our main street in and out of Virginia Beach. From the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel to 295 bypass, or I believe it's all the way to Richmond, they're looking at expanding on the median lane of 64, which adding that third lane will help reduce congestion and get cars into and out of Hampton Roads a lot quicker. But I think the key is getting I-264 up to today's standards and focusing on local roads. Those truly are what helps and has the highest impact on our citizens. We have Aubrey Lane from Virginia Beach as a new Director of Transportation up here, and he will be focusing on that.
And I take it that transportation issues also involve public safety considerations to the extent that the weather, violent weather, can have a negative impact in your area.
Absolutely. Let me touch on a couple things with transportation. You know, I think that with Bill and I coming in here, of course, if we were here last year, then there would be no money for it. And now that landmark transportation bill has passed, there are some money. So now I think our job would be prioritizing projects and making sure that money is used efficiently. And then looking at the way that the formula is, because currently right now the way that the money's divvied up has to do with lane miles. So if you have the same amount of lane miles in Hampton Roads as you do Southwest Virginia, for example, the money's the same. Well, obviously there's a lot more congestion in Hampton Roads. So making sure that, and I think that Secretary Lane will help with that because he understands that he's from the Hampton Roads. But they'll be able to look at that and potentially put congestion in the formula as well too, because that's where the need is, obviously. So.
And of course, as I indicated, public safety plays a role here, because when we have bad weather in the Virginia Beach area, it can really tie things up and make them unsafe.
Public safety always plays a role. I'm happy to answer any specific things about it.
No, I was just talking about in terms of the weather and the impact on transportation needs in your district.
From an evacuation standpoint, Woody.
Oh, okay.
Right, sure.
Yeah, we really do need to focus a little more on that with the National Guard. And I mean, the National Guard, if we reverse the lanes and open up everything going out of Virginia Beach, the National Guard has a helicopter they put up to make sure everything's going smoothly, the gates are shut in the tunnels when we have the higher seas, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge closes when there's higher winds. So really we do have a lot of restrictions once it gets here. So early warning indicators are key. Early evacuation is key when necessary. And then the third part of that is make sure we have the transportation infrastructure to get folks out of Virginia Beach. Today, I can't say that we have that, and I can't say it's adequate.
Let's turn our attention to the schools. We have some institutions of higher learning in the Commonwealth of Virginia that are noted, well noted nationally and around the world. We have junior colleges that do an awesome job, and we have a K-12 system that's doing very well. How do you view the needs of education in the Commonwealth?
Well, let me preface it by saying that education is freedom. I mean, if you have a great education, then you're going to have a lot more opportunities, and I think it's a fundamental part that we should be looking at to make sure it's funded correctly, that we're doing everything we can to make sure that every Virginian has the opportunity to have a strong education. I'm working on a bill right now, actually, a couple things with virtual education. So basically, if there are, and you hear about schools that are challenged and schools that are maybe not accredited or stuff like that, so what can we do to help with that? So one of the things I'm looking at is distance education. So let's say, for example, I was a brand new teacher in a challenged school district, and you, Woody, you're an award-winning teacher in a good school district. Well, let's beam your curriculum in with collaboration amongst the localities. Let's beam your geometry curriculum in, for example, and then I can, as a new teacher, can learn from you as an old teacher with your curriculum, but then I can also give more one-on-one attention to the students who need it the most. So that's one of the initiatives that I'm looking at right now, and that's utilizing technology and virtual things to make sure that we help the kids that need it the most.
What about reforming the standards of learning? We've heard a lot from children, their parents, and teachers, and we've heard from the governor and members of the General Assembly about the need to reform the SOLs.
I think you're going to see a great efforts toward that this year. The SOL we're looking at reducing the number of SOL tests. We're looking at really changing the way the SOL test is from a rote memorization to more of a critical thinking, because what we need to do is teach our children how to solve the hard problems of tomorrow, and the hard problems of tomorrow require critical thinking and really stepping outside the box to doing that. It's no longer rote memorization, and it's being able to apply the information that we are teaching them. I think this year you'll see that the General Assembly's got a great approach to that, and you'll see some significant changes.
Good for teachers as well, I take it.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't want the teacher stressed out just trying to teach to a test the whole year. it's not good for anyone. Well, I don't think so, and I agree with Bill. I think that there's going to be a lot of attention given to it. I'm already working with Delegate Greason on the virtual stuff as well, and as you probably know, he's hard at it, looking at the SOLs and reforming them, and I look forward to supporting things that do implement a lot more critical thinking, because as Bill said, I mean, no longer do you need just that memorization, because you can Google something, but you will need critical thinking skills and have to think outside the box to be able to get things done.
What about the importance of community colleges throughout the Commonwealth, and more importantly in your district?
I think they're extremely important. You know, TCC down in Virginia Beach does an excellent job.
That's Tidewater Community College.
Sorry.
Okay,
Tidewater Community College. Yeah, they do a wonderful job in Virginia Beach, and even with my natural gas stuff, we're looking at potentially creating a workforce development program with them. They're vital to folks, and there are, a lot of folks aren't going to four-year universities, and some people need that as a stepping stone to a four-year university. And one of the things I'd like to do is, not this session, but hopefully next session, is challenge universities in Virginia to come up with a degree that's $10,000 for a four-year degree that uses the things from virtual classes, community college credit and things such as that nature. So I think they're a tremendous value for our workforce development.
Yeah, that stepping stone is very important, and I'm sure you're aware of the 2+2 program that virtually guarantees, with a certain grade point average, a student who goes to a Tidewater Community College admission into UVA, Virginia Tech, George Mason, you name it.
Any Virginia.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So talk to us about the importance of that.
It's hugely important, and to push a little further on what Scott was saying earlier, with the virtual learning, TCC and ODU both have really very much embraced it.
University,
Old Dominion University.
Yes, here we go.
Okay, both Tidewater Community College and Old Dominion University have embraced it. So has Virginia Tech. But if you look at what they've done in the city of Virginia Beach at the Princess Anne Complex, they've done a fabulous job with distant learning, and you can either get on your computer and take the classes, you can sit in the classroom if you like that interactive environment. They've put a lot of money into it, they've set it up, and it works fabulously. So you can get the best teachers teaching the subjects and the students learning not just at one campus, at all the campuses. And with the 2+2 program that you're referring to, 2 years at TCC, Tidewater Community College, will get you into almost any Virginia school. I believe it gets you into any public Virginia college for your last 2 years. I know quite a few people who have actually taken that program successfully and graduated with their four-year degree.
Great. It's also, the community colleges also provide a transition for those who've been unemployed and need to be retrained.
Sure. I mean, they're easily accessible, and they're there for folks to, and I have personal friends who have been unemployed or underemployed who have gone back to community college to brush up on skills or get new skills to get a new job. So again, I just want to underscore that the community colleges are a huge part of our education system here, and certainly needed.
And of course, there's been an emphasis recently on science, technology, engineering, math, and now health, the STEM. And I know Governor McDonnell had created a program. He wanted our universities to graduate over the next 5 years, 100,000 additional students trained in those disciplines. How important is that?
It's very important, because if you've looked at the trend over the last 30 years, the high-end technology, science, mathematical, and engineering, a lot of those fields, we've had reduced number of Virginia students graduating from those programs. We've had outside of Virginia, outside the United States, a lot of students into those programs where we're graduating the engineers, but now we're focusing back on getting our students, getting our kids to embrace STEM, and not just community colleges and colleges, but in high school. It's really been a new I guess, revision or kind of a CPR for the program, bringing it back up to get our children more interested in it.
Now, of course, there's a delicate balance we have to maintain with out-of-state students to our universities versus those who are residents here, and we get a lot of complaints from residents that they can't get into the UVAs, if you will. How do we maintain that balance? Because obviously those out-of-state students pay more and help subsidize the cost of education.
Sure. Let me first say that, of course, we want to have access to great Virginia schools for Virginians first. I mean, I think that you're always going to have an out-of-state contingent of students, and that holds true in any state. But I'm certainly for supporting measures that allow for Virginia students to go to Virginia colleges and get that great education.
Great, great. Go ahead.
Also, Woody, if you look at that, it's not just out of state, it's out of country. But when you
point.
take out of state and you take out of country and you mix them in with our Virginia residents, you really get the diversity, and now you're getting a global perspective on things. So, you know, it's good and bad. You know, there's both sides to each story, but getting that global perspective helps take it the next level as well, both internationally from your science, technology, engineering, and mathematical, but also from a business perspective. If you look at where we're going internationally and globally, China's one of the leading expanders, and the way our universities have really embraced everything going into the Asian markets has really given us, I would say, not just a foothold, but a step above some of the other state colleges.
And quite frankly, I mean, some of those relationships that those students will make with international students could lead to business relationships that Virginia would obviously benefit from.
Great. In our remaining moments, I want to give you both an opportunity to touch upon subjects that are bearing this session. One involves mental health as a result of a tragedy by one of your colleagues in the Senate. It's been on the agenda for some time, but it's highlighted now. And then also the issue of Medicaid expansion. So I'll start with you, Delegate Taylor.
So let's talk about Medicaid expansion. I think that that there's going to be a lot this session about it. In fact, there was arguments on the floor yesterday about it, and I'm sure you'll see more of that. Yes, of course, we want to help those who truly need it, and I'm 100% for have that security net for those who need it. The Medicaid expansion is an emotional debate, but I think that there's a commission now that's looking at reforms, and some of those reforms are starting to take place, but they haven't taken place yet. Some of them need permission from the feds. I would sum it up by saying, if you have a ship that has a hole in it, you fix the hole before you put more cargo in it. So that's the approach that I think that is the responsible way to take it, because we have a duty to help those who need it the most, but we also have a duty to all Virginians to make sure that the Virginia budget is sound, and as we talked about earlier with the AAA bond rating, and that we don't saddle this state with a tremendous amount of debt.
Big concern about whether the federal government will live up to its promises, its financial promises.
Well, let me go back and foot stomp what Scott just said. And on Medicaid, if I give you an insurance card and you can't use it, it doesn't help you very much at all. So it's access to care, and it's the care you're going to get. If we do what's currently looked at from ACA and Medicaid expansion, you're going to get that card, but you're not going to have the access to the care you really need. So we really have to take a holistic approach at this and look at other ways of doing it. From the public-private partnership side, expanding our current healthcare centers, our community healthcare centers. So you have to look at it like, well, we give everybody insurance. Well, that's great. Now, which doctors are going to accept Medicaid now? They're going to restrict it down where it's hardly going to be accepted, and you're going to wait 90 days, 120 days to get the care for the flu, which you really need quicker access to, sir.
Great. Well, thank you both for being here. We appreciate your previous military service, and we look forward to your service here. Hope to have you back in the future.
Thanks for having us. Look forward to working here.
Thank you, Woody.
Thank you for watching Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Cox Communications. Until next time, I'm Woody Evans.
Yes, sir.